Wednesday. I visited the Getty Villa garden with its fountains, Greek columns, bronze sculptures, and grapes carved in the marble. The architecture of the garden was inspired by ancient Rome. Everything was white and done in lines of harmony, mirroring itself in a giant pool in the middle of the garden. Later we went to an opening close to Elysian Park, and I met a woman who was working on an art project about food. She talked a lot about food and about the dinner situation being a good place for people to meet and talk. She told me that it isn't a thing Americans do much. I lied to her and I told her I was thinking about doing paintings of food to earn some money. We had our dinner at a Chinese place in Chinatown taken from the list of Jonathan Gold. We found the spot, but they were closed and the employees were seated in the restaurant. You could tell they had just finished a meal, but they invited us in anyway. The interior of the place reminded me of some of the clubs for Turkish men in Copenhagen. There is a big difference in how people think about the surroundings they like to eat in. I prefer a minimal look without much decoration, making the restaurant look like something between a TV shop and a gallery room. The light in this restaurant came from 12 pale fluorescent lights and 2 flat screens showing 2 different channels. Between the screens hung a huge painting of a green fish. We had grilled red snapper and coriander oil, green beans and sweet chili sauce, barbecue marinated beef, seafood salad, grilled squid, and some incredibly good dumplings with prawns and pork. Thursday. Went for a walk and had a coffee in a coffee shop named Fix. In this place I was unnoticed amongst the crowd of fashionably looking young people. I skimmed through one of the countless food and lifestyle magazines. While doing that, I pondered over the concept of food porn and its relation to the new interests in gastronomy, fixie bikes, exercise, and ecological life ideals. Later we ate at the Moose and Frank Grill. The restaurant looked like an old theater with its dim lighting and interior in dark red colors. It had a bar made of gold and the waiters wore red uniforms. We were seated in a booth that only allowed you to sit on one side of the table to have enough room for the waiter's rolling cart. We sat just as you would see people seated in a movie scene or a classical painting portraying a dinner situation, this to create a clear view of everyone's faces. We had some strange dishes. The starter was an American prawn cocktail consisting of big shrimps placed carefully on the edge of a nice-looking copper bowl. For the main course, we had boiled veal and a jelly-like sherry sauce with steamed peas from the freezer. Finally, a small waiter served a chicken fricassee and puffed pastry from his small rolling cart. Friday. Had lunch at a place downtown that someone had recommended to me. I had a ginger beer and a French dip sandwich with lamb and hot mustard. French dip is made by dipping the inside of the bread in the juices from the braising before making the sandwich. We went for a walk at a small market for tourists, and I took a photo of a picture I saw. The picture portrayed a gangster version of The Last Supper, and the people seated by the long table are Hollywood stars playing gangsters. Monday. I was busy planning the dinner scene we were going to film in the evening. The menu was to recreate some of the courses we had during the last month. Some courses on the menu weren't directly copied but were inspired by something we ate or something we experienced. We wrote a long shopping list and went shopping. Downtown presented itself with tall buildings, homeless people, people in fancy suits. We passed through a street looking like a copy of Europe and a staircase that was closed off since they were shooting a scene for a film. We went to Chinatown to look for fish. Chinatown was different to downtown. The fish dealers had tanks with fish and green frogs that were alive. A man emptied a tank with frogs on the street to change the water. The frogs jumped around cigarette butts on the pavement while he was adding fresh water to the tanks. Then he gathered the frogs one by one and threw them back into the water. Then we went to the big farmer's market to buy 4 steaks. We went to the same butcher as last time, and there was the chopped meat sculpture with the olive eyes lying in the cooler, still looking at us. In the end, we drove to Home Depot to buy a grill. After the shopping, I began to cook for the filming. It was a record heat wave that day. We recorded the guests around the dinner table filled with McDonald's burgers, quail, risotto, wine, the Bermuda cheese, seafood, etc.